Hello and welcome to this campfire session. My name is Dr. Tamara and I am a medical biohacker. Today I'm going to shift your entire paradigm of what you think about chronic and lifestyle-induced disease, but it's all in the theme of energy and how we can get you to have more of it. I'm going to be giving you all the hidden secrets that you've been searching for. Hold on tight while I take you on a journey to unlock a brand new way of looking at how your body works and functions. We're going to unveil the golden thread of chronic disease and teach you how to fight frailty, lifestyle disease, and fatigue in a whole new way. The reason I looked into this was I saw an epidemic of diseases of aging. These are diseases that start to occur later on in life. And it seems to occur when there's an accumulation of damage that our body simply can't get rid of. This can be shown in neuropsychiatric disorders like autism and Alzheimer's, depression, migraine, schizophrenia. It can be in your heart muscle with cardiovascular disease. It can be in any of your organs. It can be in diabetes, in weight gain, in inflammation, in allergies, in autoimmune disorders, any of these things that you can accumulate during your lifetime. The question I had to ask was, why have we not done better when treating these illnesses? I have treated over 10,000 patients, and I see the same thing over and over again. We seem to be getting a diagnosis and putting a plaster on it, but we're never getting to the root cause. And I decided that that was my journey. I studied thousands of journal articles. I read many research papers. I traveled across oceans. I interviewed as many experts as I could. And I found that missing golden thread. And that thread is energy. So the reason it took us so long to get to this point is when we studied medicine, there were two basic ideas. The first one was anatomical. So the anatomical way of looking at medicine, I like to think of it as a tree. We have the trunk of the tree coming up, splitting into lots of different branches, which then split into even smaller branches and even smaller branches. And that's the way we specialized in medicine. We learned to know a lot about very little. So when we know about the heart and we become a cardiologist, we know all there is to know about the heart. But the minute you have a symptom from another branch, we're going to send you to that branch's doctor, the neurologist. So now you're seeing a neurologist, a nephrologist, a cardiologist, a dermatologist, but nobody is looking at what is causing the symptoms and what is that golden thread that's holding it all together. We then discovered the human genome. And we went into something called Mendelian genetics. This worked perfectly with our view of medicine because it was the inherited traits. It was those things like blue or brown eyes, red hair, whether you're going to be tall or short, male or female, those kinds of things. Because we were focusing just on those things and those things fitted so well together, that thread just never got found. We're now looking at a brand new paradigm of the underlying cause of what could be changing these lifestyle-induced diseases. So what is that golden string? We said it was energy. Newton once said, all matter is inanimate unless acted upon by energy. And we're no different. We are looking at an energetic view of tissue. We are looking at bioenergetics, which is your mitochondria. So mitochondria are a bacteria that joined with a different cell, and they produce 90% of our energy, as well as many other things which we'll learn today. We also looked at non-Mendelian genetics, which is mitochondrial genetics. Our mitochondria have their very own genetic structure. So just a little bit about mitochondria. I know that in Standard 7 or Grade 9, way back in high school in the beginning years, they taught us that these are the little powerhouses in our cells that create 90 to 97% of our energy. But that's pretty much all they told us, right? What they neglected to say was that they are found in most of our cells. In fact, in some cells, it takes up to 40% of the volume of your cell. That is massive. We have 10 million billion mitochondria in our body, and it comprises over 10% of our body weight. Now, when you find out all these things, isn't that something that we should pay a little bit more attention to? So these little powerhouses that take up 40% of the volume of our cell, they don't only produce energy, but they actually control our heat production. They help us burn fat and they help us build muscle. They are the little vacuum cleaners inside your cells that clean up all the intracellular waste so that it doesn't build up and cause disease and cause things like aging. It helps your genes and your cells replicate without mutation, and it helps you to produce proteins with proper genetic expression. It helps with your whole life cycle of your cell, the way it lives, how long it lives, and how it dies. To summarize what our mitochondria do for us, they produce energy, yes, they do all those fantastic things. But what would happen if we could have more of these guys? We would reduce our oxidative stress, and we all know oxidative stress and free radicals are the major causes of aging and damaging to tissues. We could increase our metabolism, we could increase our energy levels, we could increase our performance in exercise. In fact, it's been shown that you can change your muscle fibers from type 2 to type 1, which are better for endurance, so you can literally become fitter by getting more mitochondria. Burn more body fat, increase more muscle mass, much better brain function. Your brain is rich in mitochondria because it needs so much energy to work. Your cognitive function would improve dramatically. Age-related deterioration would decrease significantly, and there's even the possibility that we could increase our lifespans. So why has it taken us so long to make this connection? Let's go back a step. Your mitochondria only come from your mother. Why is that? So it all starts with an egg. The eggs in a woman lie in a resting state with very low energy production and very low replication for a very long time. They remain dormant. And because of that, there's less chance of mutation. Once they become activated, they go through a really strict selection process, stricter than anything you can imagine. And the minute any mistake is found, those eggs are just discarded and they're not utilized to move forward and possibly become a little baby. Men, however, work a little differently. So in a sperm cell, where do you need the energy? You need it in the tail, right? The tail is going to propel that little guy forward so that he beats all the others and he gets to meet first and become your new baby. When the sperm cell meets with the egg, the tail falls off, and with it, all that mitochondrial DNA. And therefore, you only get your mitochondrial DNA from your mother. And for this reason, you can trace your maternal line back many, many more thousands of years through your mitochondrial genetics. So the theory was we get a number of mitochondria from our mums, and then as they get slow and die off, we get slow and die off. And that's not really fun for us, is it? So science is showing us now that we can actually trick our bodies into making more mitochondria. So what are we going to do about it? We're going to do three things. First, we're going to kill off all the weak ones, because what happens with weak mitochondria is they send off signals that damage the other mitochondria. And now we have damaged mitochondria, putting more pollution in your cell, causing your cell to age, and disrupting all of those amazing things that we saw that our mitochondria control. We can do this through exercise, high-intensity interval training, through carbohydrate restriction, and through intermittent fasting. The next thing we want to do is we want to make more mitochondria. So a very dear friend of mine in America figured out a way that if you can manipulate a little guy called PGC1 alpha, you can trick your body into making more. So now we are not reliant on our original number of mitochondria slowing and dying. We can trick our body into making more mitochondria. And how do we do this? Once again, through exercise, low carbohydrate diet, and certain nutritional supplements have been shown to speed it up dramatically. And then we want to stop the things that were damaging our mitochondria in the first place so we can keep our strong ones strong. And with that, we're going to talk about toxins, reducing infections, and reducing inflammation in the body. So what are the health benefits of caloric restriction? And I see all of you going, oh no, caloric restriction, intermittent fasting, but it's well worth your time. It decreases the incidence of age-related diseases dramatically. It's been shown in research to give you a healthier heart, to increase your metabolism, to help neurologically, to stop your brain from slowing down, to defend against cancer, and to increase your immune system. But what if I told you you can hack that system? What if I told you we could give you a supplement that could do the same thing that the intermittent fasting could do and the caloric restriction could do to some extent? Of course, we still want you to eat healthily. This little thing is called AMPK, and we control it with ALA. So I'm going to tell you what that's all about. AMPK stimulates the birth of little baby mitochondria, and it gives us more and more and more. What it does is it slows down the aging process. It changes your insulin resistance, which makes you less susceptible to diabetes, reduces your chance of obesity, and reduces something very, very important. It reduces the oxidation of cholesterol. So recent research is showing that the oxidation of cholesterol, so the inflammation of cholesterol, is really the thing that's causing the damage. What happens is this inflamed cholesterol activates your immune system. These little guys like Pac-Man, called macrophages, come and they eat that cholesterol that's inflamed, and it turns this macrophage into something called a foam cell. And that's the thing that causes the plaques and causes atherosclerosis, and not cholesterol on its own. So if we can find something that can help to reduce that, it's really worth looking at. And of course, it increases our mitochondrial biogenesis. So the interesting thing about AMPK is this is the little enzyme that switches on your ATP. So we've got AMP, which is not activated. AMPK activates to ATP, which is your energy cycle. And this balances it out. The challenge we have is that if we increase AMPK, so if we increase our need for energy peripherally, that's fantastic because it's going to burn more fat, build more muscle, use more glucose. But the problem is, if that happens at the same time centrally, it's going to force us to eat more, to feed that increased need for energy, and we don't want that. This is where alpha-lipoic acid comes in. Alpha-lipoic acid is the only thing they've found that you can take orally that can increase AMPK, so increase energy usage and fat burning peripherally in your muscles, but reduce it centrally. So it doesn't increase your appetite, and therefore it's burning the fat cells that we already have and giving us the body composition that we want. There's one tiny challenge we have with alpha-lipoic acid, and that is that it has a very short half-life. What does that mean? It means that it works itself out of your system very, very quickly. So its half-life is only 30 minutes. So within 2 hours, it's practically gone. We need to find an alpha-lipoic acid that has a controlled release. That means that it can do its job for 5 hours or above. And there are brands out there doing that right now. Alpha-lipoic acid itself has been studied in human clinical trials and shown to increase your insulin sensitivity and help with type 2 diabetes. That means that it helps with that weight gain around the tummy. And when I'm talking about weight gain around the tummy, the stuff that we can squeeze, that's whether we like it or not. That's beautiful. But the stuff on the inside, underneath your tummy muscles, that's squashing your organs, that stuff's really dangerous. That's talking to your hormones. It's increasing inflammation. It's increasing your risk of diabetes and heart disease. That stuff has to go. This stuff, whether you like it or not. Alpha-lipoic acid has also been shown to lower blood pressure, lower your inflammation in your cells, reduce atherosclerosis, like we spoke about before, and delay the development of diabetes. I have one more hack for you with caloric restriction, and that is sirtuins. I don't know how many of you have heard about sirtuins, but these are little molecules and genetic pathways that help with the whole youth system. They help us to stay looking and feeling young for as long as possible. Caloric restriction has a huge impact on longevity, and we've seen this through numerous studies, through various models. In fact, they found that lowering your calorie intake by 40% can increase lifespan by 40 to 50% in certain species. That means that caloric restriction switches on your survival genes, lowers your aging genes, and decreases your diseases of aging. One of the greatest triggers of our SIRT1 and SIRT2 genes is resveratrol. Resveratrol is one of the most studied nutrients that I think we've ever done. Originally, it was shown as anti-cancer because it's so good as an antioxidant, but it's also been shown to protect your heart. It's been shown as an antioxidant and an anti-inflammatory. It's even been shown to be an antiviral. It enhances our reproductive function, and it helps the brain to make more connections and helps with neural activity. The problem with resveratrol is that all of these experiments worked very well in a petri dish, but not so well in a person. And that's because it's not very well absorbed by the body. So what very clever scientists did was they decided to do something called methylation on resveratrol. What that means is they activated their resveratrol, and now it is up to 8 times more bioavailable, which means you get 8 times more benefit from taking this activated form, and it's got a very difficult word. It's called pterostilbene, with a P in the front, 8 times more value than just taking resveratrol on its own. In scientific research, subjects given resveratrol were able to outrun the placebo by double the distance. That's a competitive advantage. So, now that we've killed all the weak ones, how are we going to increase the strong ones and get rid of all the extra waste? By increasing our number of mitochondria, we get all those incredible benefits, but it also produces more waste. And we need to put our waste disposal system in place to make sure we get all the benefit without any negative side effects. And the way we do that is we increase our antioxidants. The old way of looking at things was called auric value. What that means is one antioxidant kills one free radical and then gets rid of it. But that only worked well in a petri dish. It didn't work in the system. Why didn't it work in the system? The reason is that antioxidants are really fragile. So when you open up your tub of antioxidants, vitamin C, or you open up your vitamin E, whichever antioxidants you're taking, when it's exposed to the environment, it loses efficacy. When it goes into your mouth, it loses more. When it hits your stomach acid, it loses more. Your digestive system loses more. And by the time it's absorbed, there's a lot of phytonutrients, but very little antioxidant potential. We needed to come up with something smarter. And that smarter thing was called NRF2 pathway activation. What your NRF1 and 2 pathways do is they are genetic pathways within your cells that, when activated, produce over 300 different antioxidants within each cell simultaneously. These antioxidants don't have to go through all these pathways. They are right where they need to be, right when they need to be. Things that upregulate your NRF2 pathways are things like sulforaphane from broccoli seed extract, your curcumin, which is an amazing anti-inflammatory as well, your EGCG from green tea, and your pterostilbene, that activated resveratrol we spoke about earlier. Now that we have figured out how to make more mitochondria, keep them healthy and strong, and clean up any excess waste, we have to figure out how to keep them as strong as possible and not let them get sick again. So, we have to remove obstacles. The number one thing for removing obstacles is pesticides. Now remember, your mitochondria is a bacteria. And bacteria are killed with antibacterials. So every time we are wiping down surfaces or putting antibacterial wipes on, we have a chance of weakening our mitochondria. Another huge factor in our household is pest control sprays. Most of these are designed to actually kill off the mitochondria within the bug. So if we're spraying it and inhaling it, we have a very good chance that it's doing the same to us. We need to support our immune systems so that we can keep strong and protect our mitochondria. Sleep is exceptionally important, and sleep hygiene. We will talk about that in another campfire. And then chelation therapy if you have any heavy metals. But please, for that, we need to go to a doctor first. So, we figured out how we're going to kill off the sick guys, strengthen the strong guys, make more of the strong guys, and stop the strong guys from getting any weaker. Thank you so much for joining me on this amazing journey, looking at medicine in a totally new way. You deserve to be full of energy. You deserve to feel not only well, but completely optimized. You deserve to live a long and healthy life. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Thank you for opening your minds and looking at health from a totally new perspective. Thank you for following that golden thread with me. I want you to know that you deserve to be full of energy. You deserve to feel not only well, but completely optimized. You deserve to live a long and healthy life. I really look forward to seeing you at the next campfire. Bye.